I want to talk about Wisconsin because I am a Wisconsinite. I love this place. I believe that Wisconsin is the greatest state in the country, and I will always believe that it is superior to all others, despite the occasional errors that we make. And boy, are we conscious of our occasional errors at this moment. Because this state has been battered for 8 years. 8 years by so-called leadership that does not represent the people of Wisconsin, but that, as Matt Rothschild so ably noted, represents out-of-state interests that come to this state to pillage it on behalf of their economic gain, not on behalf of the good of the people of this state. And those who would collaborate with those out-of-state interests, those who would accept those coins in order to barter off the promise of this place, we should call them what they are. They are sinners against the basic premises of the Wisconsin experiment, of the Wisconsin idea. They are wrong, and they do not belong in positions of power. When Scott Walker refuses to hold special elections to fill vacant legislative seats, that man is denying people the right to vote for their representatives. No one, no Democrat, no Republican, no Green, no Libertarian, no Independent, no Wisconsin progressive would ever have thought it was acceptable to refuse to hold elections because your miserable party might lose them. And at this point, what Scott Walker has done with these special elections is so wrong, so vile, so antithetical to democracy, that he says, oh, well, it would be inefficient to hold them. It's like, if we held them now, they'd be almost clashing up against the November election. And I say to him, if you had called the special elections on the day that those seats went open, those seats would be filled today, and 250,000 Wisconsinites would have the representation they deserve in our state legislature. Do not tell me that democracy is inconvenient and inexpensive. What is inconvenient and inexpensive is the denial of democracy by a governor who does not respect the will of the people. Because of his excellent tavern operation, my great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather, Abner Nichols, became the territorial treasurer of Wisconsin. He was the treasurer of the territory, and his job then was to watch out over what the appointed governors and all the politicians did with our money. Because they thought even then, before this was a state, there ought to be a watchdog on the governors and the legislators and all those people. There ought to be an independent treasurer who says, hey, hold it, you're not supposed to be doing that with our money. My great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather, Abner Nichols, he left that territorial treasurer's job, became a member of the first state legislature, representing Mineral Point in that area out there, and helped to craft many of the ideas that went into the first state constitution to support its passage. And in that first state constitution, we established constitutional offices because we didn't believe in monarchy. We didn't think that a governor should be elected and then be able to appoint everybody else. Every little sinecure should be filled by the governor's cronies and allies. So they created a governor. They've created an independent lieutenant governor, not elected with the governor. It was an independent office. That's one of the great sins of our politics. We've aligned these offices. They created an independent attorney general. I wish we had one now. They created an independent state treasurer, and they created an independent state secretary of state. In the last 50 years, there's been an effort to diminish this constitutional governance in Wisconsin. They have attacked the 2-year term for governor. Governor should always be elected by 2-year terms, not 4. They attacked the 2-year term for governor because they wanted to give it more time to raise money, more power. They attacked the separation of the lieutenant governor's office. They wanted to attach it to the governor so it was an extension of the governor. They went to 4-year terms for all these other offices, and then they started attacking the Secretary of State, the state treasurer, the superintendent of public instruction. They started taking more and more power away from these positions. Each time they took power from these positions, they gave it to the governor's office. They allowed more and more power to concentrate in the governor's office so that somebody could come along from Kansas or Iowa, move to Wisconsin, get into politics, and then start to accumulate that power and then dole it out on behalf of their campaign donors from distant places. They have diminished the office of Secretary of State, State Treasurer to such a point now, because of their own wrongdoing, that they say, oh, well, these offices are no longer necessary. Why don't we just eliminate them? And I promise you, when they get done with that, if they succeed, they'll say, you know, this superintendent of public instruction, well, why do we have an independent? That shouldn't the governor run all the schools? And I do not doubt that they will do what happens in some other states like Maine. They'll say, well, if you have a governor, why shouldn't the governor appoint the attorney general? Why shouldn't we just have one election, elect a governor and let him do everything he wants to do? Well, brothers and sisters, my ancestors didn't come to this state to make that kind of state. They came to this state to make a democracy out here in the middle of the country where power was shared and distributed amongst all the people. Now, I know we're going to vote on a lot of stuff on April 3rd. I've never asked you for anything, except maybe impeach the president. But I've never asked you for anything, but this is my ask. In honor of my great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather, Abner Nichols, who served as the territorial treasurer, I want you to go to the polls on April 3rd and say to Scott Walker and say to all his cronies, you don't get our office of state treasurer. We are going to vote to keep it. They're trying to take it away in a referendum on April 3rd. We need to say no, no, no. We want to keep our democracy in this state.